Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the ProBox TV studios. Well, it was a big fight. We wondered, could George Kambosos Jr. pull another upset like he did against Teofimo Lopez in the place where he had upset Teofimo Lopez? But Richardson Hitchins had different ideas, and they were about boxing at middle range. Great fight for him, but what is the impact of that and an outstanding performance in the co-main event? Jimmy Smith alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, also Coach Robert Garcia joining us. Look, Paulie, I'll start with you. We were talking about George Kambosos Jr. Well, could lightning strike again? Could he do something? He was torn apart by Hitchins from the beginning to the end of this fight in the 8th round, Paulie. No other way to say it.
I mean, I struggle to figure out how Kambosos got to this level, first and foremost. I struggle mightily. Okay?
We said he fails up, right? He just somehow does it.
But when I watch him fight, and the reason, actually it's not a but, the reason is when I watch him fight, usually I can tell, whether a fighter's pretty good or great, low level, obviously, they're not really thinking, they're just throwing punches, right? But at this level, whether they're successful or not, I usually get a gauge of what they're trying to do, what the game plan is when they came into the fight. Even if it's not working, they're good and they're thinking, and I can see what they're thinking, even though it's not working because the other guy's offsetting it.
You see what the plan was.
I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing. I don't know what he's doing, dude. What is he fucking doing? Can I say that? What is he doing?
You just did.
You just did.
I never know what this guy's doing back there. Like to quote Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers. Right. What is he doing? He hangs around at middle range like he wants to pressure you on the front foot.
Right.
When he gets inside, he's clueless. He's not an inside fighter. So he hangs around at middle range like he's trying to pressure you. So you say, okay, so he's not an inside fighter. It's a fake pressure. He doesn't actually want to get inside because when he gets inside, he doesn't know what to do. Okay, so he's an outside fighter. No, he's not an outside fighter either. He hangs around on the outside, gets hit with every single jab, hangs around at middle range no less, because at least if at middle range, if you have no head movement, if you have no reflexes, which he has neither of the two, then you're going to hang around at long range so that at least the guy, if he's going to hit you, bop you off the head with his jabs, he's going to at least...
He has to reach.
He's going to at least... No, he has to not even reach. He has to figure out the distance himself. He has to close it himself, the jab. No, he hangs around at the exact jab range that the jabber wants him to hang out at without moving his head, takes every single jab off his dome piece that Richardson Hitchins didn't even have to use any throwaway punches.
Could close his eyes and hit him all night.
Like, usually you're using setup punches to use, because the jab, if you throw it hard every single time, a guy may counter it, a guy may start to slip it, No, Hitchins just didn't have to do anything because there's no head movement and there's no reflexes. Speaking of throwaway punches, if you're going to hang out at middle range, that means you're boxing, right? I mean, you're not trying to get inside. You're not going on the outside. You're staying at middle range. So if at middle range boxing, there are throwaway punches, there are feints, there are things that you do to offset the reflex fighter. No, bro. There's no throwaway punches. He just throws that stupid jab and that winging right hand either to the body or to the head constantly, every single time. And I'm like, what is he doing, dude? What was that the game plan? Because it's the game plan every single fight. I mean, it's not like he made Devin Haney look like Floyd Mayweather. Devin Haney's Devin Haney. You know what I mean? Like, and since then the cat's come out of the bag. You know what I mean? And Hitchins, I think, is a better fighter than Haney. Actually, I think Hitchins is a bigger, stronger. Went to the body well the other day, but I don't know, bro. I gotta say, I'd rate Teofimo Lopez. I would lose sleep if I'm Teofimo Lopez if I have that loss. I would lose sleep for the rest of my life if I have that loss on my record. That is mind-boggling. Every time I see this guy fight, I'm like, nah, okay, it's been a bad night. He's gonna show me what he's got here. He sucked here too. Okay, the next time, he had a bad night last time. He's gonna, even if he doesn't come through, he's gonna show me that he belongs. Nope, not again. All right, he's gonna at least go the distance with a guy with 7 knockouts because he's
bar's getting lower and lower, Paulie.
He showed up. He shows up. He's tough.
The fact that Hitchins. I'm eating crow because I said the guy never throws body punches because we were talking about Hitchins possibly stopping Kambosos. I'm like, probably not. Kambosos is tough. He's durable at least. Lomachenko stopped him, but he stopped him to the body. It's a little bit different. Hitchins never throws body punches. Goes out there, throws body punches, knocks him out. Basically threw two left hooks the whole fight to the body.
Both of them hurt him.
Both of them hurt him.
Bad.
One of them ended him. Like he was basically
They
he was,
were good
he was,
body punches, though.
They were
very
very good
good.
body punches, but that's not his game. But he was having such ease landing at will with the jab and the right hand. He's like, let me try a body shot.
Let's
Boom.
try this other thing I don't do much because everything else is working. Coach, I got to ask you, looking at it from the outside, midway through this fight, I went, it was almost like a 1-2 clinic. I don't straight punches, jab, right hand, but kind of like how you teach the jab and the right hand at the gym, and it worked every single time for Hitchins. Was it that, Paulie's case that Kambosos was there to be hit, or did Hitchins have just a really good jab and right, and they were working, stay with it?
I really believe, I'm with Paulie. I really believe it'll work with anybody against Kambosos. Kambosos is just that basic guy. Talks his way into huge fights. His looks, his tattoos,
What a
manager,
career.
promoter.
Robert.
Talked his way into big fights. I think anybody would do that.
Robert, no, I'm serious.
I love the
Remember the
honesty
Devin
here.
Haney rematch when we were all waiting for an adjustment?
Yeah, it was,
This goes back all the way to back then.
Same
And I
thing.
remember what was the adjustment. If you remember what the adjustment was, he would bop around on the outside, switch lefty for no reason, and then go back to righty and then try to throw a punch. And that was it. That way, essentially, he did the same exact thing. Hung around at middle range, got hit with every jab,
yep.
and didn't make any adjustments. But the adjustment in the second fight was, I'm going to switch to southpaw, pretend I'm a southpaw for a second, not do anything, just bop around, and then turn back righty, and also, speaking of which, that's another thing you do at world-class level. Change looks. You change levels, you change looks. Kambosos, if you notice, he'll change look at times. He'll give you the look. He never throws a punch from any look, though. So if you only throw a punch from the one look, but then you change looks and never throw a punch from that look, guy, I got news for you. The opponent is going to realize, we're at world-class level here. The opponent is going to realize he only punches from one look. The other looks he gives me, he's not punching, which goes back to also the Haney fight when he was turning southpaw and they were throwing punches from the southpaw stance. If you're going to fight at a different looks, the whole concept of fighting at a different looks, fighting at a different heights and levels, all that level change, look change. I know when the low IQ fighter gets to the high level and he fights a high IQ for high level fighter, he may want to copy it, but there's a point to copying it. You have to punch off those looks. Otherwise, they are just looks and they're not fooling anybody. The reason the different looks fool, Mayweather was a master of these different looks. High guard, low guard, the shoulder roll guard, all kinds of coming forward, going backwards, low level, high level. You have to be able to punch off of them. Doesn't mean you have to punch off of them every single time, but if you are never punching off any look except your main basic look, guy, I got news for you. You're not fooling anybody. Not at that level. At club level maybe, but not at that level.
But Jimmy, to your point earlier, though, I think two things can be true at once. I think that, yes, Kambosos had no game plan, fought the wrong fight, hasn't looked good maybe his entire career except for Lopez.
I want to cut you off 1 second. His trainer didn't get into the country. They wouldn't let him. He had to stay in Canada. But it's still the same look. It's the same problem he's had the whole time.
It was the same guy that fought Haney. It was the same guy that fought Haney twice. It was the same guy that that fought all these guys and has had trouble. But also, like Paulie, I agree. Richardson Hitchins is very, very good. I mean, what he does best is knows what he is, and he's a boxer, and 1-2 clinic. That's what he does in the gym, too. I've been in the gym. I spar with him. This is what he does. He boxes well from the outside. He establishes his jab. When he feels comfortable with the jab, he puts the right hand on it. When he puts the right hand on it consistently enough, he adds some left hooks to the body. The fight's over. I don't think we saw actually how good Hitchins is. I know we're looking at this like, listen, he dominated him. He looked great. It was fantastic. What a performance. He showed like 30% of what he can do. Hitchins is way better than even this. And we're going to see that more and more as he steps up in class because Kambosos didn't even have enough to make Hitchins elevate at all. He basically went out there, had a sparring session.
First game plan
and
worked.
got the guy.
First game plan worked.
But also, Hitchins' game plan isn't a secret. I'm going to come out and I'm going to jab you. I'm going to jab you, and then I'm going to hit you with right hands. Zero game plan, zero thought going into the fight, zero different changes during the fight. But I do think actually Hitchins is very good.
So what I'm curious about, Coach, I want to throw it to you. What did you see the ceiling for Hitchins in this fight? Because as you said, good jab, good 1-2. But like you said, Kambosos didn't do anything. He was easy to hit. But did you see a guy who has maybe some superstar potential or has a high ceiling?
Hitchins, he's a complete fighter. I think he's the real deal at 140. He'll compete against any of the top 140 pounders. I really believe he's there to last for a while. I'm not sure if there's plans of him moving up in weight. I've heard a little bit of rumors there, but he could compete. The kid is the real deal. Great jab, great footwork, great distance. That's the main thing. He keeps his distance. He maintains. He knows what he's doing, and he did what he had to do with Kambosos. And that doesn't mean, oh, well, Kambosos wasn't there, or Kambosos was just a basic fighter, he would do the same with any
Yeah.
of the top guys. I think he will compete against anybody.
What I'm curious about is we have a separate level of fighter here at Pro Box TV, and what it is the Chris Algieri starts shadow boxing level of fighter. So you go ahead. We're going to talk about Andy Cruz. Go ahead, throw some fight. Andy Cruz. Why? Because he looks nice, Paulie. He is nice, and that's what I mean. A Philly gym or an LA gym.
You want to know how nice he is?
Nice.
Let me tell you how nice he is.
Yes, please.
In this regard. I was going back and forth Saturday night watching the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
Edmonton and Florida. We're in Florida here.
Yeah, we are. Panthers.
Okay.
We're in Panther country.
I was going back and forth. I'm a Ranger fan, mind you, but when in Rome,
Your accent does give you away.
when in Rome, when in Rome, But
Right.
so I'm going back and forth.
Right.
And the hockey game was pretty good.
It was good.
There was
Been a great
preliminary.
series.
There was preliminaries on. So I'm like, I'm not gonna switch from this hockey game until the main card starts, bro. I switched to the main card. It's round one of Hitchins Kambosos. I'm like, what happened to Andy Cruz, dude? It's
Yeah.
over already?
Yeah.
This guy's durable. This Mishiro's doable.
Yep.
They're durable. What happened to this guy? I missed the fight.
Yeah, Cruz ate him up, ate him alive. Two-fisted puncher, couldn't miss with the power punches. Great stuff for the jab. Chris, his fifth pro fight. He gets a stoppage after dominating Hironori Mishiro, dominated from the beginning.
Yes.
That's impressive.
And what's more impressive is the speed at which he's getting better at the pro ranks. And we spoke about this last show when we were highlighting or previewing this fight, excuse me. And I'm a big Andy Cruz fan. I really like what I've seen. I've called a couple of his fights. I've obviously seen all of his fights. In the beginning, though, people kind of, there's a way to knock him a little bit. Oh, he's 5-0 with 2 knockouts. He's not a knockout puncher. No. He's fighting tip-top guys out of the amateurs. Now, he's starting to stop these guys. So what is he, 6-0 now with three KOs, 50% knockout percentage? Still not great. Watch that go up. Watch him continue to dominate.
You're not going to get Andy Cruz at plus 105 by knockout anymore.
Yes.
Plus 105.
Yes, some money was made. Some money was made on Saturday night between two guys that you didn't think were going to get the stoppages, both Cruz and Hitchins.
And lost, too. If guys,
but Mishiro put up a much better. I mean, he tried. I mean,
These Japanese fighters, they're all tough. They could all fight.
Yeah. But when you look at it, Coach, what I'm curious about, if we can go to you, Robert, when you look at Andy Cruz, he's taken the Cuban amateur style, and as he said, I've mixed it with some Philadelphia training, Philadelphia sparring to make me a better pro, to make me hit harder, sit on my punch a little bit more. That's a deadly combination. Is that what you saw Saturday?
Definitely 100%. He did a great decision going to Philadelphia, training with Boots' team. He showed he's got great skills, obviously gold medalist, and power also. He connects his punches right. See, sometimes with boxing, you don't have to be the biggest puncher. If you connect the punches right at the moment, at the right spot, turning your shoulder, your legs, everything at the same time, you're gonna hit hard, and that's what he's doing. He's learning all that. He's improving, and every fight looking much better and better. I was very paid a lot of attention to his fight because he's mandatory to my champion Raymond Murataya. So definitely, we have to pay attention to him, and he's looking very sharp.
He's got a little trash talk to him too.
Yeah.
Did you see what he was throwing afterwards? He gets the phone and he's like, "Oh, I'm calling my son, Keyshawn Davis, because it's Father's Day.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my son.
Yeah, because he beat Keyshawn in the Olympics.
Him 4
right?
times in the amateurs.
Wow.
That's good trash talk.
That is very good. But Robert, I'm very curious from a coach's perspective. Are you going, I'm getting my guy ready now? Is that, you know what I mean? This idea of like preparing for Andy Cruz, how much is that on your mind? Now, fight hasn't been announced. I'm sure that it's in the works right now. It was a title eliminator. But this is it. When do you start thinking about this guy and how your guy prepares for that guy? When do you start doing that?
Well, look, whenever we get to that point. Right now, I'm not sure how long we have. I think I read something about the IBF saying we have like 10 months, so we might be able to do something before that. But we do have to start preparing, because if that's a mandatory, then we have to be ready for it. We know it's not going to be easy, but I think I have the fighter that has the experience, that's been in there with great fighters, and that could do the job. But we got to know that Cruz is the real deal.
That's a good fight, man.
That's a great
That's
fight.
a nice fight.
Lomachenko just retired, Paulie. Do you see a similar Andy Cruz has that kind of potential? I said not an easy fight against Robert's guy, but this idea that, man, he could be one of those. So we're talking about, man.
He's very good.
Yes.
I mean, he's got an opportunity. I think we're seeing these kind of guys who fight for titles in their first 10 fights.
Yes.
We're seeing them more and more as these kind of long-range amateurs turn pro. I will say there's only one Lomachenko fighting for your title, for your championship in your second fight.
Second fight.
You know, winning a world championship in your third fight. That's I don't think that's ever going to happen again. A pro world championship, but nonetheless, we got guys who come close who are up the level. You know, we had Rigondeaux, we got Andy Cruz. We've seen some very good Cuban fighters. Also, just because you don't have to rush, you don't have to always rush the Cuban fighters in the first 5 fights like an Andy Cruz. You got guys that can develop and then become great champions. You know, Ruslan De Lara developed into a really good long time champion. So, you know, a Cuban fighter is still a Cuban prospect is still a jewel in boxing. You know, so you have to also know how to move them, of course. And yes, Andy Cruz. He's a guy who you can move faster, and he's obviously going through the levels with flying colors. You up his level, and he's going through with flying colors. So yeah, he's going to be the mandatory for Murataya. But we're going to find out if Murataya is a step too far, you know, because Murataya is not a weak champion. Sometimes you got these weak
I was just talking
champions.
about this. I think
Murataya
will probably be the betting favorite.
Yeah.
Because based on his experience, his physicality, I mean, and Andy hasn't truly matured to the professional ranks yet. Yes, he's getting better. Yes, he's improving. Yes, he's phenomenal. But like you said, is that a bridge too far too soon? But I don't know. I want to see it. The lightweight division is red hot right now. With
And
these
if you're
young guys.
if you're handling Andy Cruz, do you wait a fight or two? I don't know. Do you?
It's tough to wait when they
look
landscape.
that good.
It's tough to wait when you in this landscape because, I mean, everybody wants to make these big fights now, and Andy's one of those guys who doesn't have a title. Obviously, Murataya does have a title now, but Andy's dangerous. He's a really dangerous guy to give a shot to.
Though.
Well, Murataya's a champion though, so like he now has a bargaining chip. He can make these big fights. He can hold out for the big fights. Andy can't. Yeah. Andy's got to shoot when he can. He's got to go for it. So I don't think there is going to be too much of a waiting period for a guy like Cruz. And then Murataya is in a good position, man. He's the world champion. He's got the crosshairs are on his back now, which is a good thing to be in the sport of boxing because that's how you make the big money and so you get the big fights. But then you got Abdullah Mason who's going to be fighting for his world title. Yep. So the lightweight division, you've got these three young guys: Abdullah Mason, Andy Cruz, and Murataya. I mean, all three of them are studs. This is a red hot young division right now, and I think everybody's gonna fight too. It's not like you got a guy some guy who has this huge profile who's gonna avoid people. No, they're all gonna want to fight each other and probably gonna make it happen.
What I'm curious about, last thing, Paulie, this idea that at 29 there is a little bit of urgency. One of the things about having the amateur career these guys had is by the time they get in the pros, they're in their mid to late 20s. 29 in the lightweight division. That's not a spring chicken.
Yeah, you do have to get moving in that regard. But that's also why you have such a long amateur career. And why you have the successful amateur career Cruz had is so you can jumpstart yourself in the pros and move faster. So, you know, like we were just saying, there's pros and cons to both situations. I do think that Hall of Fame credentials have to start looking at amateur resumes because of these kind of
more
fighters.
And more, yeah.
Because of these kind of fighters, we're getting more and more of these kind of fighters that are super amateurs that, you know, they come into the pros and they don't get the 10-15 gimme fights. They just have to go right into contention. So therefore, their record isn't 40 pro fights and they get they run off a bunch of wins in a row for free, and then their record looks almost padded. You know, now there's no padding your record. You're just going right into difficult fights right away, and you're capable. You're winning titles, but then, you know, like a Lomachenko, you wind up with like a 17-3 record, or something like that, right? Where
didn't even get 20 wins.
Yeah, so
Hagler got that in a year.
So what I'm saying is, but if you look between the numbers, if your IQ is above 50, you know, you should be able to see, wow, you know, these guys are insanely good.
They're all names.
That's why they don't have all these wins, is because they had such a super amateur career, and when they went into the pros, they could have fought every week if they fought the bum of the month, but they didn't want to fight every week, fight the bum of the month. They wanted to fight contenders and high-level fighters right away, so they went straight to contention.
Consistently fought out.
I think that's why you have to start looking at the resumes of these kind of fighters, like your Andy Cruz's, like your Rigondeaux's, like Lomachenko's, and like some of these Russians as well.
And it's going to be an incredible future. That's right. Hitchins, Cruz looking absolutely outstanding as they get their next fights. And it makes news. You'll find out about it right here on Boxing Scene Today. Jimmy Smith for the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, Robert Garcia. Thank you so much again for your insight. As it makes boxing news, you'll see it here. Find out why millions are watching.
If your IQ is above 50, not unless.
Yeah.